Am I audible over the web? Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay then. Yes, person. Right. Yeah. Okay. Fine then. I've put one example basically for the people who are looking out for Azure. In Azure, you have to do a hell lot of things. I don't want to basically start on knowledge of Azure right here. But in Azure, if you want to start a machine, you need to create a resource group, you need to create a network, you need to create a storage account, you need to create a managed disk, you need to create a hell lot of things. So that's why even to create a single machine in Azure, you will have a hell lot of things. Okay. But that's how Azure works. So in Azure, if you have to create, you have to start with resource group. How many of you don't know Azure? Good. So I'm not speaking with you. So for the people who know Azure, I think we know what we are doing over here. We have to create, basically whenever you create Azure virtual machine, in that blades, you will be creating first the resource group, and then you will be adding the machine's name, and then the network interface. Okay. And then the network security group, public IP address if required, storage account, all of that. So here it is not as simple as what it looks in AWS, because in AWS everything is expects a default value, but in Azure that is not the case, right? So you can create a storage account and use it for multiple virtual machines. That is possible. But the whole point over here is in Azure, if you want to achieve, you have to write a lot of things. So for the people who are from Azure, blindly follow this. All right. Okay. So let me not really worry about you with respect to Azure. Let us speak about something called as Terraform modules. What is that module and why is it important? All right. Okay. So let us go back to our examples. By the way, for the people who are looking out for Azure, I have written something called as multi-cloud. In Terraform zone, I have committed a folder called as multi-cloud. Please have a look at that. Okay. So let me go over here. This is what you were writing yesterday, right? So we have written a 3-tier architecture with basically 1 DB server and all of that, right? Okay. Now let us assume that I want to give this architecture, which has 2 Tomcat servers and 1 database server, to someone for use. Okay. He has to take complete Terraform file, yes or no? Right? So, but there is one way around, one other way around, which Terraform calls as modules. Module is a reusable Terraform code. Module is a reusable Terraform code, and module is nothing special. Okay. Module takes inputs and gives you output. Module takes inputs and gives you outputs. Okay. Modules can be of 2 categories. One is which are already written by someone else. Basically, they are present in the web. You download them and you use them, or you write on your own. Okay. And writing our own modules is no different than writing Terraform. Is no different than writing Terraform. So let us just have a look at this. In this file, okay, whenever we are writing, oh no, one note, I have to get used to this. So whenever you are writing a Terraform file, what are the essential entities which you tend to write? Okay, you would be writing about main.tf, where you write something about providers and resources, and probably you might be writing variables.tf, where you define variables or parameters, whatever you call it. Okay, and then you have exactly module also has this. Exactly module also has this. Okay, so the stuff which I am going to do right now is yesterday's stuff, whatever we have written. I want to use it as a module. I want to use it as a module. So in yesterday, did we return main? Did we return provider and resources? Okay. Does it have variables? Yeah. Does it have outputs? Outputs, let me check if I have put it or not. I'm not sure. I don't think I have put outputs. So let me add one more file. Output is not mandatory, but I'm trying to tell that generally you have these things, right? Yeah. So let me put outputs.tf. And how do we write outputs? Output. Okay. And first let me write as app server 1 IP. Okay. So what is app server 1 over here? How do I write this? How do I access it? What is the syntax? First thing for sure is I have to write this. Yes. Till here there is no doubt. Everyone, right? And now I have to follow the syntax. What is the syntax? Resource type dot name of your resource, and then I have to go to the Terraform page to find out what are the different values that have been exported, and I have to put that value. So let me go back over here. What is the resource type? AWS underscore instance dot, and then app server 1. Okay, and for the rest of the values I need to go to the Terraform's documentation page, because I don't want it to remember anything. Okay, so I'll go to the Terraform documentation page and I will call it as Terraform AWS underscore instance. Okay, AWS underscore instance. These are the following arguments which you pass. This is all fine. These are the values which I can get out. Right. Now, what is that I wanted? IP address. And especially I'm interested in public IP address. So what is the attributes name over here? Public underscore IP. So just pass that. Simple. And now I want to create one more output. Output app server 2 IP address. And the syntax will almost look the same. Okay. So what the syntax is very simple. You have to write dollar for anything which you want a variable. Okay. And here you would be writing AWS underscore instance dot app server 2. Okay. Dot, and I'm interested in, and we have one more thing which we have created, which is database. Right. So output DB endpoint. Okay. So there is no doubt that I have to use again the same similar syntax, dollar. Okay. I'm not sure what was the name of the resource which I have used. You need to know. Oh, AWS underscore DB underscore instance. All right. So AWS underscore DB and underscore instance dot DB server. And now to know the rest of the details, I have to do the same job. I have to go into Terraform AWS underscore DB underscore instance. Okay. These are the inputs which you pass. Scroll down. Okay. So this is what are the attributes which are exported. Okay. So what is what is that I'm looking at? Endpoint. Are you seeing any property called as endpoint? Yes. So dot and simple. Yes. No different, right? It is the same thing whatever I have done yesterday. Right. Now let me see what I would do. I'm not interested in all of that. I'm removing all of this. Okay. Okay. I'm basically copying this 3 tier. I'd create a new folder. This is what I want to create. The new folder which I want to create is, let us assume it is multi-cloud. Simple. In multi-cloud, I am copying this. And the keys will be in here. Simple. Yeah. So I have a folder where you have your module. Now, let me open this with Visual Studio Code. Okay. Fine. And now you are creating a new file where you call it as main.tf. Okay. I will basically hard code the things over here, but you can create variables for this also. Okay. This is my resource. And I have a folder where I have basically someone else's written Terraform structure. Right. So I want to refer that. I want to refer that. So see what I'll do. I'll just say module. What is the name of your module? My name of your module is 3-tier. And source. Where is your module? Right. It is present in the same directory. Done. So module, any name which you want to give, source, give the path of your folder. But path always relative to where you are. Always relative to where you are. So the path of that module is present basically in the same folder in the same directory in a folder called as 3-tier. Dot represents my current directory. Since I am in Windows, I am using double slashes. If you are in Linux, you don't use that notation. You use single slashes there. Okay. That as I said, the directory paths might change from Windows to Linux, and you have to get used to that. Okay. So this is the stuff. And now I have not closed this. Let us see in this variables what are the different variables which you are supposed to pass. I'm supposed to pass private key path, and I'm supposed to pass access key and secret key. So shall we do this? Yeah. So what are the different things which this is taking? Access key, secret key, and private key. All these variables will become parameters for that module. All these variables will become parameters for that module. All these outputs will become the attributes that are exported. All these outputs will become the attributes that are exported, and all the variables will become the input for this module. So now if I have to call this module from somewhere else, let me go over here. I would be passing, I need to pass the private key path. Where is it? Okay. It is in different structure, right? Yeah. So I need to pass. Oh, private. Let me just copy and paste the variable names. I'll be copying the just variable names because I don't miss out anything. Private key path. equals to whatever your key path is. If you want to enter it over here, enter it over here, or otherwise, even for this you can write variable section. Even for this you can write variable section. But I want to hard code as of now. All right. So private key path is dot slash keys. Okay. And in keys we have Terraform dot pem. Okay. So if you don't like this idea, what you can do is you can simply do whatever we have been doing till now. So man, this is too much of indentation. It is coming in between what we are trying to do. See. Okay. So variable with a default value, private key path. This is, remember, this variable has nothing to do with the variable of your module. This is your main.tf file. These are your new variables. Okay. And in here you put this value. And then over here you would go and you would say dollar var dot done. And you are referring to the variable which you have defined over here. So if you want to do, you can do this, or you can take out these variables and create one more var.tf file. Your choice. Absolutely your wish there. Okay. Now I have to write. Okay. So what is the other input? Access key. So access key is equals to, okay, variable. I'm just creating a different name. AWS underscore access key. So to refer this, I'll be writing dollar var dot. Are you getting the point? So anything which you have written, variables will become input and outputs will become the attributes that are exported. Right. It has changed. Okay. Okay. Fine. Now we have, if I'm not wrong, it is secret key. Yeah. Secret key is equals to, yeah, let me stop it over here, and then let me define a variable, and this time I don't want to define a value, secret key AWS underscore. Done. And over here what will I write? Dollar var dot AWS underscore secret key. Fine. Since these are variables, I don't want to put them over here. What I would do is, man. So let me go over here and easily, let me create one more file. Fine. So I have created a file called as var.tf, and whatever definitions which I have written over here. Okay, even here, let me change the different name. You can have the same name also. Okay, let me have the same name. One variable I am having the same name as what the other module has. Two variables I am having a different name. It doesn't matter. Okay, var dot will always refer to the variables in your current Terraform context, not the other Terraform stuff. Right? Yeah. So let me pull them out. Move them to var.tf. Difficult? No. Okay. Now I want to display the output. So let me write the output. Output. Okay. Let us assume that I want to write. Let me write DB endpoint over here. Okay. But remember, DB endpoint is defined in that module. DB endpoint was, what was it? It was an output over here. Yes. Now let us see how do I access this. So obviously I'll be using dollar. Yeah. And then here I'll be writing module dot 3-tier dot. Is it making relevant? So module dot, the name of the module, whatever you have given, plus whatever attribute which you want to display over here. The name of the attribute is DB endpoint. So put it as DB. Simple. Yeah. Similarly, if I want to display one more module, what will I do? Module dot 3-tier dot, whatever the value that has been exported. Simple way to use modules. Yes. Now, looking good? Yes. Okay. Let us assume that I want to use one more module now. I want to use one more module, but this time not the module which I have written. So just Google for something called as Terraform module registry. These are all the modules that have been developed, which you can use for your own purposes. Which you can use for your purposes. So for example, if you scroll down, you would be seeing modules from different cloud providers. Resources were individual items, but here it is simplified version. For example, I have in AWS there are 368 modules. Let me select. Okay. If I want to create VPC, I have to do a hell lot of things. Or else the most simple thing is just include this module and the VPC will be created. And whenever you are creating these modules, every modules will have, what are the different things every module will have? Inputs and outputs. That will be present in this documentation. So if you see, these are the inputs. Every module's documentation will tell what are the different inputs which you can provide and what are the different outputs which it gives back. Are you seeing this? Yes. And module is nothing but, okay, Terraform resources which have been grouped so that you can basically reuse them at a much more high level. Okay. So resources also we can create EC2 instance, but for that we have to do a hell lot of things. You have to start with a security group, you have to do different things. But once you write a module, okay, so to create the 3-tier architecture, to write all of this, we had to write all of this. Yes, main, and in the main we had to basically create the, what do you say, we had to write a provider, we had to basically create the resources, we had to do multiple different things, right? Now to use this, what is that we have done? See the calling code. Is it looking that complicated? So if you are a creator of the module, you might take all the pain, but the user of the module will pass only few arguments and he will get whatever he wants. He will get whatever he wants. That's as simple as that, right? Yes. Okay. Now let me go ahead and create something which is simple. I don't want to create the hefty stuff. Looking good, right? Security group. Yeah. I'll blindly copy paste whatever is written over here. Okay. Fine. Yeah. That's it. Okay. You have to give the right VPC ID. Here the VPC ID will not match to our scenario. You have to just change this VPC ID. But if you are seeing over here, to create a security group using resources, I have to go through everything. But here most of the things are already done. And the best part is, okay, all of the stuff which you are doing over here, okay, generally is present in GitHub. Okay. And if you want, you can see how he has written it. All the modules code will be on the GitHub. So if you really want to see how these guys have achieved it, he would write a language which you and me already know. So if you see in the main dot TF is writing AWS security group rules. He's writing hell lot of things, but he has made it more reusable. Okay, he handles all sorts of scenarios in the AWS. So basically, over here, whatever you see is not a very fancy stuff. Okay, but it is reusable in a way that there is no need for you to worry about a resource called as AWS security group. From now on, you can go with modules, right? Either you can use resources or modules. And if you go into Terraform, there are modules almost for every case. In Azure, you have modules. In Google Cloud, you have modules. In Oracle Cloud, you have modules. In Ali Cloud, you have modules, right? Actually, for only for specific scenarios, we'll be using resources. Otherwise, we go with modules. Why do you want to spend all of that effort and time in achieving all of this? Yes. Okay. So I have to change the VPC ID, right? Somewhere I might have used the VPC ID also. ఎక్కడ వాడే ఉంటాను కదా, వేరియబుల్స్ లో వాడాను. Let me hard code this. Yeah. Ingress CIDR blocks. No man. Let me play a safe game. Simple. In this code, whatever I have written today, I have not even written a single resource, not about provider. I am just dealing with modules, outputs. And to the modules, I am passing variables, right? If you create reusable entities, your end Terraform script will look something like this. But for you to reach to this state, you have to write a lot of modules. So we should know both. One is creating reusable modules. The other one is using reusable modules. Okay. So for the people who have lesser experience and who join the companies, probably you might be using modules. So for the people who start their journey newly into the cloud, I am saying about the company's perspective. Or if there are mixed set of resources, then you would be writing modules. But Terraform job expects you to do both, creating the modules and using the modules, right? So I can run this now, but before this, I want to let me do one thing. What is the folder over here? Multi-cloud, right? I will not run this. Before running this, I'll do one more simple stuff to this. Okay, because we know what will happen when we create that. It will use two EC2 machines and one database server. I'm really not worried about it. Now just see, I do Terraform init and then I'll do dot. So there is no provider, but it will go and find out in your module whether your module is using some providers. Okay, so yeah, there is something wrong in this modules definition with the code which you have copy pasted. Let me go back there. Happens, man. It happens with me every time. Okay, so let me copy paste this. Okay, okay, fine. Now let me do Terraform init dot. Are you seeing? I have not written providers. I have written just modules. So what Terraform had done is Terraform has went into that and found out that okay, he is using the modules, and in the modules they are using AWS. That's it. That's as simple as this. Okay. Now whenever I run this, what would happen? .tf state file will be created, and then you will be the person who will be managing this resource. Right? Okay. So I'm not running this because I want to do something else before I run this. Okay. But till here, are we clear? Module is not a very difficult thing. Module is First is you write Terraform modules so that others can use it. Okay. Till yesterday we were doing that. Today what I am trying to do is whatever we have done yesterday, I am trying to reuse it rather than rewriting. So to create this rewriting capability in Terraform, there is a concept called as modules. And in modules, you have to just write modules, tell where your source is. Okay. Whenever you write your own modules, the source will be the folder path. Whenever you write your modules, the source will be the folder path. But whenever you use modules which are basically from Terraform registry, every module will have this section over here. Okay. And in there will be a source, and that source will tell you the details about it. Just blindly use it. Okay. So are we good? Yeah. So can you make your module reusable now? So what has to be done to make the module reusable? You need to have right set of variables and right set of outputs. That's it. There is no other precautions which you need to take care of. You need to have right set of variables and you need to have right set of outputs. And for example, if I want to use your module, there are two ways. One is you can publish in this registry. You take your module and upload to this registry, but that route people will not go, especially in your enterprise worlds. Okay, they will be putting those modules in Git or some other folder. So you will get that folder, put it in a relative path to your Terraform scripts, and then you would say source is equals to that folder from which is relative from here. In my case, the source was, where was the source? This is the stuff, and I had a module which was a 3-tier. But actual architecture people, what they tend to do is they create a folder called as modules, and whatever they want to use, they will put it in here. That is what people follow as a practice, right? But I wanted it to make simpler, so that's why it is this. Okay. So if you have modules, and within the modules, if you have 3-tier, okay, let us assume that this is a scenario. Within the module, I have this. So how different is it now? So you have to just say // that's it. This is the actual feasible way or actual way which how people want to use Terraform, right? Now let me do this again. It should not conflict. If your path is wrong, Terraform init itself will fail. The modules path, whatever you have written is wrong, then Terraform will fail. If you remember the first time when I did it, I copied the wrong path, right? So then what was happening? Init itself was failing. Okay. Are we clear on this? So what are the modules important sections now? To create the module, ensure you have right set of variables and outputs. Okay. And now to use module, okay, you just need to know source, inputs and outputs. There is no need for you to write a provider when you are using a module, because in the definition of the module you might have used provider, and that provider will be downloaded into your folder structure. Simple. Yeah. In Terraform, whenever we want to do anything, it is very important that we define provider. But whenever we are using module, we don't do that, because in the modules definition there is a provider definition. So you need not specifically say that I want to use this stuff. Okay. Now if I use one more module which uses Azure, and if I do Terraform init, since that module uses Azure, okay, my init will download Azure provider. That's how it works. There is no need for you to write provider every time. Okay, whenever you are using modules. But whenever you are creating modules, yes, you need to deal with providers. Simple. Right. Now let me look at questions. Do we need to download the module source code from GitHub or include into your local machine? Generally, you will put all of your Terraform stuff in Git itself. Okay, let us assume that you are developing for the same team, right? So then you will give a source which is relative to your folder. But if you are taking it from a registry, you can basically use the registry paths. And if your company is buying Terraform Enterprise, Terraform Enterprise will give you an option of creating Terraform registry within your company. So then the modules which you push will have some source link like what we have for AWS security group, whatever we have used. So these are the three options. Okay. I am telling the poor man's option where you put the folder relative to this. Okay. The other option is use Terraform registries, but Terraform registry is not free. Terraform registry is not free. So that's why that's the whole case. But if your company is buying a product which is called as Terraform Enterprise, then you will not have a problem. Okay. Terraform AWS module is not a registry. This web page is a registry. Okay. Now this registry is open source. Anyone can publish, anyone can use. But in your company will not like to publish their modules to the open world, right? Right? Because they are not doing for AWS, they are doing for some customers. So that's why they need their own registries. All right. Or they will put it in the GitHub, clone it, and then use it. Okay. So there is no need of registry for Terraform. Registry is needed when your company is working only on Terraform on multiple different things and all of that stuff. Right. Okay. Let me scroll down. Source of the modules path is not correct, I think. Okay. Unfortunately, it is correct. Right. Yeah, you have to use a specific path in Windows. You have to use double slashes. That's the only trick over there. If you are using Linux machines, just use the single path. Dot is your current directory. For 2 forward slashes tells you that search in this current directory in a folder which is called as Terraform or modules or whatever it is. Right. Okay. Fine. So, any other questions in the room before I jump to the next and last concept of Terraform? I would ask you to create an AWS or Google virtual machine. Let us assume that this is the task which is given to you. So, what are the different approaches? One is you can go to the provider called as Google, write your own resource, and then achieve the stuff. Otherwise, get into Terraform registry, see the Google modules, and see the usage of how to create a virtual machine. That is much simpler. So to use a module, you need not know much of a knowledge of the cloud, but to use the low-end hanging fruits like the providers, the resources, you need to be good at what you are doing. But module will tell you what is that it is made for, and then you have to just pass that. Simple? Yes. Okay. Now the problem is I have state file in my. Where is it? I'm having state file. If I basically execute this, I will have state file over here, right? But let us assume that this Terraform file, which is used is to create a dev environment, and there are 3 DevOps engineers who stay in 3 different countries. Okay. And whenever these guys execute, they all are speaking about one environment. They are not speaking about 3 different environments. They are speaking about one environment. So when 3 different DevOps engineers log in into or basically use their directories and they say Terraform plan and they say Terraform apply, what will happen? An environment will be created. Okay. So now I am in my system and I do the same stuff. What would happen? One more environment will be created. So actually you wanted one, but if three DevOps engineers will execute these commands, you will get 3 environments. Is that sensible? No. So if you remember, whenever we were running Terraform, okay, what is that we were getting? We were getting a TF state file, which consists of the state file. Okay. Now, what we would try to do is we would try to put that state file not in our folder, but somewhere else. Not in our folder, but some other place. Okay. So putting your state file in some other structure, let it be anything. Okay, is called as a backend. Is called as backend. Now in Terraform we have a concept called as backends. So we come across backends. Backend is all about Terraform state file. It is not about nothing else. It has nothing to do with what your resource is, what your provider is, nothing. So Terraform backends. Let me go over here. There are many supported backend types. So for example, you have Artifactory, you have Azure Resource Manager. In this, you have to create a storage account, by the way. You have console, HCD. HCD is typed twice. Google, HTTP, Manta, S3, Swift. And then if you have a Terraform Enterprise, you have a whole set of different options. Right? So I'm not getting into Terraform Enterprise because that is not something which we expect of. Okay. So you can use any one of these areas to store your state file. And whenever other person tries to execute it, for him also this is the backend, because you are taking this code from the same Git, right? So now when he tries to create it, it would tell that it is already created. Why do you want to create it? Okay. So that was not happening earlier because everyone had their own version of the Terraform state file. Now what we are trying to do is, for all the people, let us have only one version of Terraform state file. Okay. Now if one person is trying to do something on it, it will not allow others to do it. That's the whole point, right? At a point, for example, you are doing Terraform apply and the other person is doing Terraform destroy. It should not happen, right? It should happen, it should give only to one person. So for that, what it would do is, it would acquire something called as lock. So if you know locking concept, so you would lock some file saying that I want to use this. Till I finish using this, don't give access to anyone. Okay, I'm okay if they read, but I'm not okay if they write something here. So that's why what Terraform backend uses is, it uses a concept called as locking. Locking and you just basically, you see, you whenever you share a file, okay, with read and write access. Now you want to modify file, and you don't want others to modify the file while you are modifying. What will you do? You will temporarily remove the write access till you basically, you will be the only person who is having the write access. You will finish your job and then enable write access so that others can write it. That's the concept of locking, right? So Terraform backend is all about that. And now it locks it. And now where do you want to put that lock file? So there are many things. You can use S3. Okay. So I'll be using S3, by the way. So basically in S3, what you need to tell is, you need to tell what is the S3 bucket name which you want to use. What is the S3's bucket name which you want to use? Okay. And that's not it. S3 bucket name our create చేస్తే సరిపోదు. Okay. To maintain these logs, what basically the S3 backend does is, it also relies on one more NoSQL database which is called as DynamoDB table, which is called as DynamoDB. So you have to do two different things. Okay. Backend. What is backend all about? Okay. Moving state to common location. That's the whole point. Okay. And then lock when in use. Okay. To stop others from changing infra. Okay. I do Terraform apply. Till my apply is finished, the file will be locked. And if someone else tries to do Terraform apply, nothing will happen. Simple? Yes. Okay. Now, for this, there are many backends, and I'm interested in a backend which is called as S3 backend. For this S3 backend, you need to tell the following things. You need to tell the bucket's name. Okay. And then you create something called as key over here. Key is nothing but basically the file which stores the state. Right? And then you need to create DynamoDB table. And remember that table has to have a key which is called as lock ID. ఇన్ని గుర్తెట్టుకుంటాం మనం 1% ఛాన్స్ ఉందా? Okay. But if you want to put a state in Terraform, you have to use this. So for that, what we are supposed to use is, okay, so let me go over here, S3. Let me copy this example configuration. That is something like this. Okay. And this is not it. Actually, you have to tell about DynamoDB table also. So you need to change your Terraform init command. You need to change your Terraform init command. So I'm not getting into all of this. Don't worry. There is an easy way out. So I'm not sure what it was. Let me just look into this. Not this. 1 minute, guys. If I don't find it, I can open other file, but other file has a better option. Okay, let me do one thing. I have anyway this folder, right? Module example, no. My module demo, yes. Let me try this. Yeah, you have to use this command line. Okay, Terraform init, and then you have to say what is your DynamoDB table which you have created. Okay, and then basically access key and secret key. Access key and secret key is a common stuff, right? So the steps are log in into AWS, create a S3 bucket, or basically use the existing bucket, whatever it is, whatever that makes sense to you, and then give a key. Key is the name of the file in which your state will be stored, and then okay. So S3 bucket creation I am not showing you. Just go click on S3 and then say create a bucket and give some name. So that's fine. The other thing which you have to do is you have to go to the databases, and in the databases you will be seeing something called as DynamoDB. Go over here. Okay. Create the table and give some name, whatever name that makes sense to you. So something like my Terraform. Okay. And remember, this has to be okay. That is for sure. You cannot have a different name. This has to be a lock ID. And click on create. Give these details over here. Terraform init. Okay. And then what is the table name in this case? My Terraform. So let me go back to that command line. DynamoDB table equal to my Terraform. And hyphen hyphen backend config access key is equal to, we know what is an access key. And then one more backend config secret key is equals to this. This is all manual way of doing it. Okay. But is there a better way of doing it? Yes, fortunately. Okay. Some person has really saved our time over here. Okay. And in the multi-cloud I have used it. There is a module called as S3 backend now. You don't need to do all of this. Just create a module called as S3 backend. Now what it will do is it will go and create the S3 bucket if necessary. But for that you have to select those values. Create S3 bucket, true. If you don't enter this value, it will be false. It will not create a bucket. And similarly, create a DynamoDB table. Give some value over here. Okay. So now backend S3 bucket. Let me use some name. Let me hard code it. I'm really not worried about this. So what is the backend S3 buckets? Let us give Qt Terraform. Okay. And keys name. Key is a file which you want to store your state in. So what is this? Multi-cloud, right? Multi-cloud dot state. Okay. Whether you want to create a S3 bucket, yes, I want to. So if you have already created it, make it false. If there is already a bucket, then there is no need for you to put it as true, put it as false. DynamoDB table. So multi cloud, okay, hyphen Qt. Simple. That's it. Because someone has done all of this work. He has made it a reusable by using something called as S3 backend module. Looking simple? Yes. Now let me do one thing. Let me go over here and then say Terraform init dot. See what happens. He's initializing, and now you have used one extra module. So he's seeing what are the different plugins that are there. Okay, good. So everything is good now. Now, shall we run this file? Yeah. So whenever we run this file, something different happens now because TF state file is no longer in your folder. It is present in S3 bucket. Right? Okay. Now, what are the different things which I need to pass for this? Okay. I need to pass private key path. I think private key path is already defined, right? I have given the value, and access key and secret key. Okay. I will also put these values hard coded over here. So let me first create an access key and secret key. Services IAM. Okay. Users. Okay. Execute this command also because modulo backend expects you to have this credentials or create environment variables. You can go into that module and read the documentation. You will find out what are the different ways of passing access key and secret key. Okay. So now I have access key and I have secret key. And let me go over here and then let me say default is equals to, okay, and the same thing for this, default is equals to, but for you please don't use this default. Secret key and access key never should be default, they should always be passed. Okay, so నేను అన్నిసార్లు కమాండ్ కొడతానికి బద్ధకం వేసి నేను చేస్తుంది, but while committing I'll remove even that. Okay, so access key and secret key should never be part of default, there should not be any default values there. Okay, I'm just doing this so that I don't need to type the command line minus var access key equals to and secret key equals to every time. That's it. Simple now. Everything saved? Yes. Now, Terraform. What is the first command? Validate. Okay. So, what it says, region field is not set. Okay. How could I miss that? Okay. Then what is it saying? Deprecated defaults to current provider region. Provider.aws region field is not set. In which provider region is not set? Is he speaking about our stuff? No, man. Definitely not our stuff. Okay. I got the point. Let me do one more thing. Launch, run as administrator. Terraform, validate dot. That is fine, but from where? Okay. 1 minute, guys. Let me just try to see where we are getting this issue from. To my knowledge, it is from here, but it should not happen because it was working straight away. AWS configure. Region is set. Not sure. This is one place. Okay. Let us go to the documentation of what is the module which I'm using? S3 backend. Terraform module. S3 underscore backend. Yeah. I'll get all sorts of errors, man. That's what our jobs are. Terraform registry. It was working wonderfully well yesterday. No. Is this our bucket? No, right? We have used something else. Yeah. This is what it is. Okay. So basically, if you see the note there, AWS configure I have done to basically satisfy this note. It basically takes the credentials from your AWS configure or from the environment variables. So whatever is that. All right. That's it. I think it should work. Not sure, man. Seriously, not sure why it is not working. Okay. Oh, let me try one more thing one more time. I don't know why it is not running. I'm not sure. It should work. మన code లోనే ఏమైనా తప్పు ఉందా? Let me cross check my stuff because we have written provider var.region in the variables. Yeah, we have this. Last check, man. What I do is I remove this. Okay. Yeah, not a problem from module. Okay. So I think it is a problem from the security group. Let me remove this. In this, I think I have to pass the region. Okay. I'm not interested in that. So let me do Terraform. Validate now. It says module S3 backend only. Module S3 backend aws.region is equals to current. ఇది తీసేసిన రాకూడదుగా మరి. I'm not done this. I'm doing Terraform validate. Yes. Save this. Man, so quite funny this because the provider region is already set. Required field is not set in provider.aws region. I'm not sure what is it. Okay, let me do one thing. I'm sorry for this, but this should work quite smoothly. Okay. I've removed the .terraform folders, which means that I don't have any providers right now. So let me start from beginning. So Terraform init dot. The only thing which I've removed is the version restriction over there. I'm just latest version, whatever it is. Okay. Now Terraform validate. Not sure. This should not happen, man. Let us see what is happening. Yeah. US West 2. Okay. So now what it is trying to do is your state variable, whatever it is trying to create, it is just going there and it would try to create the S3 bucket. It would try to create the DynamoDB table and the DynamoDB table with the lock ID. So you need not remember anything. Everything will be done over here. If you see, it is saying that whenever you do this, 7 resources will be added. Yeah. Now, what is the best way to achieve this? Terraform plan out. Okay. Multi-cloud dot plan. Let us see what would happen. Yeah. US West 2. I'm just creating a plan file. Yeah. Are you seeing over here? It is trying to restate the plan. Okay, refreshing the states. Generally, whenever you do it on your local machine, you will not see refreshing states. You will not see all of that because you have a TF state file. It will write into that. But now it is speaking with AWS S3 bucket to find out what is in there. Right. So once everything is being done, you will get a plan file and Terraform apply. And whenever we do apply, it would do something called as acquiring the lock. It will do something called as acquiring the lock. Now let us see. Closely follow this command line arguments. Okay, or the not the arguments, the output. Okay. Now see what happens when I'm not having a very, what is it all about? I think I'm supposed to do this fail to load the backend. I'll find out what is this error, guys, because I'm not sure. It should directly work. I think it has to do something with the problem with this machine, because if I get into this multi-cloud, I'm just trying to elaborate what I've done. I've used this. Okay. And in this, if you see, Qt Terraform backend 2 is my bucket's name. Now you go to the services S3. Are you seeing Qt Terraform backend 2? It is created. Now, basically, DynamoDB is this. Okay. And S3K is basically multi-cloud. Now, if you get into this environments, it would try to put the state variables over here. So all of this stuff was working correctly. I'm not sure. I have something doubt with my AWS installation, AWS CLI installation. So I don't want to really stress out this. I'll be committing this code, try it out. And if you're also getting the same error, anyway, I'll find out what is the reason for this. Because there is something wrong with the AWS CL. That's what my gut feeling says. Because it is a quite smooth journey. You don't need to do all of this. You have to just say create true or basically false. It will not do anything. It will be quite simple. But if that is not the case, I can also do one more thing. Okay. Rather than doing all of this, okay, I'll use Terraform backend and then I'll use that lengthy command. I don't want to go with that route. So ఇది వర్క్ అవ్వకపోతే వేరే ఆల్టర్నేటివ్ ఎలాగో ఉంది. The other alternative is go into the GitHub. Okay, you have to execute this command terraform init hyphen, this is your first init command. Okay, and after that you have to use basically Terraform backend, this one. This is required. If you do this, then you will not have any problem. If you do this, then you will not have any problem, right? Okay, so why don't I try this? Let me put backend also. Last attempt, guys. I'll not waste your time further. S3 bucket. Okay, now let me do Terraform init once more. If there are no changes, it will not do anything. So there is nothing to worry about it. If it works, wonderful. Otherwise, I'll tell you what is the reason for failure. Yeah, fine. Terraform. Let me say plan man. Let us see what happens. If I'm getting the same error, then yeah, it has messed up. Okay, fine. I'll find out what is the reason for this. Okay, మనకంటే ఈ రీజన్ నాకు స్క్రీన్ షాట్ పంపించండి, అలాగే ఈ ఫైల్ కూడా పంపించండి ఆ డైరెక్టరీ మొత్తం. Okay, so now what I do is, there is only one last thing which I would do before we wind up this class. Fine. And let me get over here. Okay, one thing which you need to change in this code with respect to the demo, which are multi-cloud stuff, in my case is my VPC ID is hard coded. It is something which belongs to my account. Okay, so replace it with your VPC IDs. Anything specific, change it. Okay, and I want you to run this stuff in your machine. Ensure that you have AWS CLI installed. Go to the 3-tier and run this. Okay, and I don't have a key also. You need to change the Terraform key also. In my case, it is Terraform. In your case, it is not Terraform. It might be something else. Okay, and I have not uploaded this key also, because generally it is not a good practice to basically send these keys to GitHub. All right, so try this one out. I'm quite sure it would work. I want to find out the environmental issue what the system has. All right, because it is a very quite simple stuff. Region, access, and secret key are read from AWS configuration in your system. They are not set basically programmatically. It is unable to read. That's the whole point. But I want to identify why it is unable to read. All right. Okay. So one more thing which you need to do with respect to this is, yeah, as I said, change any specific items which I have written. So my key name is specific. My VPC ID is specific. Make it generic. That's it. Okay. Now, module concept, are we clear? Yes. So backend, okay. I am unable to, basically I was unable to demo this, but get into this example of my module demo, and in here, okay, you can also run through this example. And in this I have used something called as use module, but here you have to do manual configuration. You have to create the S3 bucket, you have to create the dynamodb table, and remember the key has to be lock, L capital, OCK, ID capital. If it doesn't match, it will not treat it as a backend. That is a manual work. Okay. And this part is already documented. It is present in Terraform S3 backend configuration, and if you go and read, you will do all of this. But for me, I thought that it is taking too much of a time and you need to remember a lot of things, so that's why I've used that AWS backend. Okay. AWS backend works quite smoothly, but I'm not sure for the reason of the failure. But I will investigate, and tomorrow in the class I'll tell you what is the reason for that failure. Okay then. So any other doubts? So what is the difference between backend and when we put the backend and when you don't put the backend, what would happen? Why we use backends? Pardon me? To store the state file in common location so that multiple environments are not created. All of your people who are working on Terraform are speaking with the same environment. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea about it. Okay. I have committed all of my code, okay, in the Terraform, and it is in the github.com/a square zone /terraform zone. Just go over there, and there are samples over there, whatever we have done in the classroom, and also the samples which basically I've done for the previous batches. You basically look into whatever that makes sense to you, right? Now, can you please check, is there any duplicate variable region? No, I don't think so. I've put the duplicate variable called as region, right? Okay. So are we in the correct directory? Oh man, yes, we are. Yeah. Yeah, I make mistakes. I do make mistakes, but directory stuff I don't think I'll make, because I'll be easily be able to identify that. Directory is not the problem. The problem is whenever I run Terraform, Terraform has to read the region value from your system, which it is unable to. That was the whole issue. Right. S3 bucket is created under the global region. No, S3 bucket is not created under the global region. S3 bucket is also created under the specific region, but all the region buckets are shown. That's why you see global there. In S3 UI, if you go, you will be seeing buckets from all the regions. So that's why they show global there, to just prove a point that you are not seeing regions, you are not seeing buckets from a specific region, but you are seeing from all the regions. That's why you see that. Yeah. Somewhere you used my Terraform, but in this file it is Qt Terraform. Yeah, I could have done that blunder. Yes, I could have. Okay. And anyway, I have committed it. Please correct me on that. All right. Okay. So basically this backend is the only thing which I'll see what is the error. Okay. Anyway, it is committed. I have the same version as what you have. I can try it out and find it out anyway. But I want to see that error message. ఒకసారి try చేసి error message నాకు పంపించండి. Okay. Fine. And the last thing is, tomorrow we are going to discuss on Elastic Stack. 7 to 10 we have Elastic Stack, right? So it is for both AWS and cloud. We'll be discussing on Elastic Stack services. So installations, not interested. I'll come up with AMIs, and installation stuff, I think basically I'll either share the links or I'll share the documentation. I'm not interested in installation. As I said, I say it 100 times or 1000 times. Installation is the last thing which you need to worry about. Right? Configuration is the important thing. So I'll try to have Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, Beats, okay, and then we will do log monitoring. Tomorrow's class is all about log monitoring, but I will start with this reason for failure, why this has been failed, and if there are any corrections, I'll do that, and let us see the remote backend once. Okay, because it's not a very difficult concept, but it should work plainly and smoothly, but I'm not sure why it is failing. Okay, and I don't want to debug in the class because it takes time, right? Okay, so yesterday even in AWS class, the Azure account was locked. I couldn't do anything because it takes time, so I had to. That's how it is. Okay, fine. So we'll meet tomorrow at 7 o'clock to discuss on Elastic Stack and to basically execute this code once. I want to run this Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply. These are the only three commands. And if there is any error in that respect, with respect to that, whatever I have written, I will tell you what is that error. All right. So this is what I'll do for tomorrow. And tomorrow for both cloud and DevOps, we have Elastic Stack. All right. And from Monday onwards, we'll be looking, Monday and Tuesday, we'll be looking into Nagios. Right. And Wednesday, you don't have a class. From Thursday, we are starting Docker. Yeah, this is how the things would be. So that's what the plan for us. And for the cloud, from Thursday, it will be Azure architecture. Okay, so there are some changes which I've done in the syllabus. Okay, if you can basically visit the content, and in DevOps, as I said, I'm adding Windows DevOps. After Docker, we'll be learning PowerShell and PowerShell desired state configuration, DSC. These two things. And in the cloud world, now cloud is no longer concept wise, it is role wise. Okay, we'll start with Azure architecture, Azure administration, AWS architecture, AWS administration, cloud DevOps. So that is what our course is, right? So this is what we'll be looking out for. And let us see. Okay, and if you have any friends of you are looking out to join DevOps, okay, Docker is the right time. వాళ్ళు జాయిన్ అవ్వకపోయినా పర్వాలేదు, మన దగ్గర జాయిన్ అవ్వకపోయినా పర్లేదు, బట్ డోంట్ ఆస్క్ దెమ్ టు మిస్ అవుట్ ఆన్ డాకర్. ఓకే, డాకర్ అండ్ కుబర్నెటస్ ఆర్ ద మోస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్ విచ్ కెన్ గెట్ యూ జాబ్. ఓకే, డాకర్ లేని ఈ మధ్యకాలంలో జాబ్ వచ్చిన వాళ్ళు నాకు తెలిసి ఎవరు లేరు. అంటే దెర్ వర్ ఫ్యూ కేసెస్ వేర్ పీపుల్ వర్ రిక్రూటెడ్ ఓన్లీ ఫర్ టెరాఫార్మ్ అండ్ ప్యాకర్ ఆర్ స్పెసిఫిక్ స్టఫ్స్, బట్ ఆన్ ఎ జనరల్ నోట్, ఇఫ్ యూ లుక్ ఎట్, డాకర్ is a very important concept. Okay, next 2.5 weeks when we start Docker, I would expect you people to follow it absolutely well, because Docker is as important as Linux and as important as Jenkins. Okay, because every company wants to go there, right? And during Windows DevOps, I'll be speaking about Windows Docker. Next 2 weeks will be completely Linux oriented, and Windows Dockers will be looking at PowerShell desired state configuration, and then we'll be looking at Windows specific containers, how the Windows deals with containers, that point, because it is not possible for me to bring in Windows containers with the extent of syllabus, because I have to speak about Docker, I have to speak about Kubernetes. Okay, and Swarm, I'll not be telling anything about Swarm. I'm not interested. Okay, Docker Swarm, I'm not interested. Stack, I will not promise, but if I have time, I will. Okay, Docker Stack is something which is newly added concept. Okay, I'm not sure whether I will be able to accommodate, because our syllabus is already more. Okay, Stack ఇప్పుడు వరకు అయితే ఎవరు ఇంటర్వ్యూలో అడగట్లా, but Stack is what Docker is basically replacing Compose with. Docker Compose అని ఒకటి ఉంది, so they want to replace that with something called as a Stack very soon. So Stack, I'm not sure, but all the features of Docker and Kubernetes will be covered, and Stack is my last priority. Okay, and when it comes to Swarm, least bothered. Why? If Swarm was a hit, Docker would not have given Kubernetes installation along with Docker. So in Docker, there are two installations. One is free, the other one is paid. On the paid version, they are giving Kubernetes installed on your machine. And దాని అర్థమే మా స్వామ్ బాలేదని. If suppose if Maruti car is giving Hyundai engine, what does it mean? My engine is not good, please use Hyundai engine, right? Yeah, so that's why we are going only with Kubernetes, right? Thanks for that.